Welcome to ETFinalscore.com, your source for all the highlight stats and stories and scores from around East Texas high school football, with your host, Eric Sullivan.
What's up, everybody? So glad to have you with us for the ET Final Score football show. Week number 3, we had rain, wet weather all over the area tonight. And you know what? District play is right around the corner. Over the next 30 minutes, we've got all your highlights, final scores from the top games in the area. Also, our Tyler Paper sports reporters will be calling in to recap the second halves of all those late great games. Now, to be a part of the show, the best and fastest way, get on Twitter. If you've got scores or stats or want to comment, go to @ET Final Score. They post your tweet in there. You can also shoot us a text at 903-216-7290. Now, before we get to all the highlights here, we did have a bunch of cancellations and rescheduled games for tomorrow. We'll show this again at the end of the show. Lee and Texas High in Texarkana tomorrow at 2:30. Dangerfield at Gilmer, 11 a.m. Gladewater host Atlanta at 2 p.m. Sabine and Harleton will get going at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Cayuga Overton canceled tonight, as well as Bullard and Huntington. Leverage Chapel and Marshall Christian will play at 5 o'clock. Now, we start with the Longview Lobos and Lufkin Panthers. The Pack in shock after losing to Nacogdoches last week for the first time in 21 years. The Lobos, meanwhile, they've recovered nicely since that Week 0 loss up in Allen. A lot of history between these two. Let's see what happened at Lobo Stadium this time around. 3-0 late in the first quarter. Longview running back Jamichael Hasty is just turned out to be one of the better runners in all of East Texas. Look at him showing his moves. Gets out of bounds after the first down. Then Desmond Chumley with the plunge in. He's a big guy, 7-3 Longview. Now Lufkin would respond back about a halfback pass. Steven Sal to Cavante Cute. Wow. Coach Don Quick dialed that one up to perfection. 10-7. The Purple Pack in the lead, but Longview comes bouncing right back. Jamichael Hasty once again, like a bowling ball, untouched for the touchdown. Gets a little bit of a cute right here. That's a flag. Longview would take the lead 14-10 after the excessive celebration. Then Desmond Chumley, what a ball to Stephon Anthony for a big game. Same drive here. It's Jamichael Hasty again. He scores a touchdown, and here's what you do. You just hand that football to the referee and say, "Thank you, sir." He learned his lesson. 28-10 now, Longview late in the first half. Chumley getting it going again, finds Anthony again. Those two are turning out to be quite the 1-2 punch, along with Hasty, the running game. 35-10 at the half, and all Lobos after that. Final score, the Green Guys, the Longview Lobos, take it 55-30. Your final score in this one. Congratulations to Longview. That's 3 wins in a row. All right. For more on this game, let's go back out to Longview Lobo Stadium, where our Mr. Jeff Schaefer is standing by with reaction to that big win for the Lobos. We'll get to that in just a moment, so stay tuned for reaction from the Longview Lobos' big win. Now we're going to move forward to the John Tyler Lions. And, of course, last Friday, they just put it to their arch rival, the Robert E. Lee Red Raiders, 44-0. The third of 6 straight home games for JT at the friendly confines of Rose Stadium. Here we go to their old district foe, Mesquite Horn, in town tonight. And Horn, pretty good football team early on, though. Giovanni McAllister finds his buddy Devontion Gross for the first down. That would lead to Jose Perez in this wet weather. 35-yard field goal is pretty impressive. Way to go, Jose. John Tyler, though, down 7-0. McAllister gets the ball back, and this time he's going to his big receiver, Rodney Bendy. Now look at Rod here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Horn Jaguars. Make it 7 with 51 in there to try to get him down. And then McAllister's going to go across his body, finding Nick Kane for the touchdown, and John Tyler gets the lead now. Let's move on to the rest of the highlights in this one, as JT would really get it going on defense right here. Horn, quarterback, scrambles out, but thank goodness for Mr. Jalen Reese there for the stop right there. And then Coach Rickland Holmes and company are fired up because they were down when we jumped to the third quarter here, 37-10. Coach Holmes cannot believe what's happening. So here we go. Giovanni McAllister hands off to Reggie Gibson. Nope. He would pitch it back to Nick Kane, and Nick is emerging as one of these superstars in East Texas. That would cut it to a 2-possession game. but in the end, it's not enough as John Tyler kind of up and down this year. They play a great one game and then kind of go out flat in another one. So it's 47-17, your final score in this one. John Tyler going down. Now, with more on this game, we go to Travis Shosting, who is the beat writer for the Tyler Paper and ET Final Score for the John Tyler Lions. And Travis, let's get right to that. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde here for JT so far this year.
Yeah, they did not carry the momentum of that win over Lee at all. They had a couple of costly turnovers at the start of the end of the second half, or end of the second quarter and the start of the third quarter that let Mesquite Horn take a big lead, and they just never really were able to get themselves back in the game.
Travis, I mentioned this is the first of 6 games in a row at home. Coach Holmes is preaching, guys, we have got to take advantage of that because that could be really beneficial, especially when district play gets here.
Right, they really want to get some momentum going before district. This kind of halts that momentum. They had won 2 straight going in. With the weather and the fair going on, they didn't have a big crowd out here tonight. I think they'll expect bigger things on Thursday night for that game against the Tigres from Mexico.
Travis, real quick, we've got so much going on with the White House Wildcats. They are good. Do you kind of get the sense, I know Coach Holmes doesn't even want to talk about that yet, but is White House kind of getting all the hype here and JT's maybe behind them a little in this district?
Yeah, that might be the thought right now because, White House is winning handily in all their games. They've been impressive so far, and JT has been up and down, like you said. It's going to come down to that final game of the season.
All right, well, Travis, I'm trying to stir the pot a little bit right there, as I usually do. Thank you so much, Travis. Have a great weekend, buddy. All right, with more on that big win for the Longview Lobos, here's Jeff Schaefer in Longview with the reaction from the Lobos.
Well, Eric, a big win tonight for Longview over its rivals from Lufkin, 55-30, the final in favor of the Lobos. I'm actually joined now by Longview starting quarterback Desmond Chumley. Now, Desmond, this game tonight, it was kind of tight early on, but then you guys really opened things up in the second quarter. What kind of clicked there, especially on offense, that allowed you guys to kind of break this one open a little bit?
Just working together as a team, really getting the runs down, keep holding blocks, getting good handoffs, just working as a team, really catching balls, everything.
Now, how did it feel to not only play at home for the first time this season, but to get a win and in a rivalry game like this over Lufkin?
It feels good. We knew they was 1-2. They weren't going to bow down to it just because it was at home and they lost to other teams, but we knew they was going to come at us because we're Longview and this Lufkin, so we knew they were going to come at us hard, so we knew we had a fight on our hands.
And then, how much momentum does this give you going in next week? And now, you're getting ready to start district play, so nice to be on this little streak that you guys have right now, right?
It feels good. Winning 2 trophies back-to-back, so it feels pretty good going in the district.
All right, Desmond, thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate it. Congrats on the win. So, again, Eric, big win for Longview tonight over its rivals from Lufkin. That Longview offense really started clicking in this one.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Now get dry, and what a win for Longview right there. All right, let's move on now to Class 4A. 5th-ranked White House at home tonight for the first time this season. So far, Patrick Mahomes and company putting up 53 points per game, including 61 last week. The Marshall Mavericks in town tonight to hopefully they were hoping to try and slow down those Wildcats of White House. There he is, Patrick Mahomes Jr., Texas Tech bound, finds Jake Parker for the deep pass. That would get him inside the red zone. And Coach Adam Cook says, we're going to try and run this football a little bit. And Trey Staples says, I would be glad to. Slashing his way in for the touchdown, 7-0 White House with the lead. Marshall's Justin Hart. He's going to fire back. Deep ball to Jock Kirkendall. What a catch by Kirkendall right there. He's going to be a great player. And then this time, Hart, though, shut down by Joseph Klein like a bullet out of a gun right there, making the stop. Mahomes back at it. Look at the pump fake. And you will not overthrow Jalen Dews ever. Big play right there. Mahomes goes right back to him. What a play in the end zone. Kind of Des Bryant-ish right there for the touchdown, 14-0. And Mahomes goes, hey, Jalen's my guy, but Jake Parker, get ready, buddy. I'm fixing to go deep to you. First up, though, Mahomes to Drew Smith. Now, Drew filling in nicely for the sick Mr. Patterson. Coleman Patterson's got mono right now, so way to go, Drew, with the big gain right there. That would get a field goal for him. And how about more defense? Chris Reese, corner blitz, takes down Justin Hart. And then Mahomes doing what he does on the run. Beautiful ball to, there's my guy, Jake Parker, getting it down to the 10-yard line. And Watch this catch right here. Mahomes hurries him up to the line. In the rain, the lights, it doesn't matter. Jake Parker is the man when it comes to catching those touchdown passes. That's a big one right there. Hey, thanks to the White House cheerleaders and students for helping us pass out our ET Final Score footballs and T-shirts. That young lady will never forget that. Final score, all White House in this one, 59-3. Carthage coming up next in this one. We'll have more on that later in the week. Big win for White House. All right, let's get to the Lindale score taking on Hallsville tonight. This was a back-and-forth kind of shootout game. Lindale at 1 point leading, but Hallsville in the end really starting to improve this year. They come back to get a much-needed victory at Lindale. 56-28 your final score in that one. So big win for the Lindale Eagles right there. All right, we're going to hit a break here for the first time tonight on the ETFinalScore.com football show. Hold on tight. We've got more 4A games coming up, along with that Nacogdoches Carthage game that was a thriller. Troop and ARP as well. And there's that Twitter page. Go to @ETFinalScore, stats, scores, comments. You can play Sports Reporter right there. We'll be back in about a minute and a half.